Okay, welcome to part 7 of the Delorean build. So a quick look at the parts we've got this week. Basically we've got the parts for the steering rack and the front plate, which I think is actually the inside part of the boot at the front of the car, but we'll talk about that later. So I think we'll get straight down to the assembly, which is on the next page, and it's quite simple. There's not a lot to do. The most important thing you've got to do with the steering rack is make sure everything is on in the right direction, because there's a couple of components you can get on the wrong way round and it will create havoc. The first thing you've got is the steering rack itself. It looks pretty symmetrical. I don't think there's a left and a right to it, so you can start anywhere you like. Step 1 is to fit this component, and just make sure that you fit it as it's shown in the diagram, which is that way round. You see it? That's the correct way around, and you'll be using FM screws for this, nothing to do with radio, and as usual they've sent us 3 screws instead of 2. Eaglemoss are very good at that, they always send you an extra screw, so making sure that's again the right way around. Let's pop the EM screw in place. I'm wondering, should I pick it up with a screwdriver? I think I'll put the screw in place first. They are slightly fiddly, these little FM screws. Anyway, I think that's the best way of doing it. Just try and start the screw off with your fingers like that, and then get the screwdriver in there and tighten it up. Once again, the screw threads do seem rather tight. I've been moaning about this now for a couple of issues, that the screw threads are rather tight on this kit, and I think it's the same problem as last time. It's paint that's been introduced into the threads of the screws, and it just means you've got to use really quite a lot of force to get them in. So you've got to hold the steering rack quite firmly while you're screwing these FM screws down. Don't do these dead tight, of course. The component's got to be able to slide like that. I think I might just do a little tighter. But it doesn't actually give you any information on torque or precisely how far in these screws should go. So I'm just sort of using my best guess, really. Basically, you want the screws to go in as far as they can without fouling the mechanism, without stopping part 7A from moving. Okay, I think I'm happy with that now. The screw's in as far as it wants to go, and as you can see, that is still free to move, and more importantly, it seems to be the right orientation with what's shown in the diagram. The next piece is this little fellow. Now that goes on, it is kinked, and you want it to be kinked upwards. I think you can see that in step 2 quite clearly. That's going to be in a sort of kinked upwards direction. It may seem quite minor, but I bet when you're assembling the steering mechanism, all these little things become quite important. that together just for a moment. Grab myself a screw. I've said it once and I've said it again, these FM screws are rather tricky to deal with. You will drop them a couple of times. Quite difficult to get in the hole, but we will persevere, don't worry. That's the joys of doing a live build. That is a fiddly little so-and-so. There we are, that's just got it on the first couple of threads. Again, the thread does seem very tight on this screw as well. I'm actually alternating between the R2D2 screwdriver and the Delorean one, just to see which gives the best grip of the screw. Like I say, we are having to put quite a reasonable amount of force on it. In actual fact, this screw, the Delorean screwdriver is gripping it better now. But it is worrying when you've got a model like this and you're actually having to put quite a lot of force onto a screw. You don't want to break anything. But I think in this case it's necessary. Okay, I think I'm happy with that now. Those screws are as far in as they can go, and crucially, I hope you can see that these steering components, they're free to move in every direction, and that's what you want. If they're too stiff, you just need to loosen off the screws a bit. I'll just compare that with step 2, and that seems to look the same. Right, step 3, much more easy. We're just taking these little rubber boots and we're just slipping them over the end of each end of the steering rack until they meet up with the metal stop. These are very realistic actually. They look like, I think the proper name for these is steering gaiters, but they certainly look like the real thing. So we'll put those two on, and that essentially, that is all the assembly for issue 7 done. That's it. That is the steering rack finished. Simple as that. Another quick build. The plate which is supplied with the kit, you'll see here what everybody's been complaining about. It's nicely painted on this side, and it looks like they've missed with the black paint on this area. Now everybody's saying this is a fault, and it doesn't really matter because the component's going to be that way up anyway. And like I say, I think this is actually the panel which forms the front of the boot space, and I think actually the spare wheel sits here. But I think this clean area of metal is done for a reason. There's a lot of electrics in the car, there's a lot of lights, and there's a lot of little electronic gizmos in the car. I think this may actually be an electrical connection. It may actually be an earth point for the battery power supply, and if it is an earth point, they'd need it free of paint. So that's one possibility, and that is actually where the earthing wire is going to be attached. So it may be an error, or that's what it might be. If it was an earthing point, it would be devoid of paint, so that might be a possible answer to that. And the rest of it looks fine. It's going to be seen that way up anyway, and it looks great. But as I see it, that's actually the front section of the boot, and that they're the access to each of the headlights. But time will tell. But, as I say, don't worry about this area that hasn't been painted. I think you'll find in future issues that's been done on purpose, and that certainly will make a good electrical connection with the earth wire. So that's it for issue 7. Nice quick build, not much to do really. We've got one FM screw left over as well. We'll just have a quick look at the end of the magazine. There's a nice article about Michael J. Fox's days with Family Ties, and a little mention of Teen Wolf there. Less said about that the better, I think. And on the back page we have the components we're going to be getting next week, which, if I can stop it flaring, you'll see we're getting the top plate and the anti-roll bar. I beg your pardon, the bottom plate and the anti-roll bar. Now this looks quite exciting, so I think once we've got all those components we can put all the front suspension together, and then we'll have something that looks like the front of a car. So I'm really looking forward to that one. That's the contents of issue 8, and that's when I'm going to see you again. Thanks for watching. That's been issue 7, and I will see you again in issue 8. Thanks again.